I just played Stranger Things, the game. I played it on my Android phone. It's also available on iOS. It is completely free. There's no way to give them money for it. There's no DLC, nothing. The game is just completely free, so there was no reason not to give it a shot. And I, being a fan of the show, figured why not? I'm glad I did. It was actually a very rich and vibrant experience. It's almost like the kids got together and made a video game based on their experiences. So it's got this light-hearted feel, despite the fact that they're fighting monsters from the upside down, and death is present. Of course, it's a video game, so if you die, your punishment is to start off in the room you just left. So it's very forgiving in that regard, which is nice because sometimes it gets pretty overwhelming. You walk into a room and some guy will immediately throw a wrench into your face, and down you'll go. The game wants to appear as though it's kind of an 80s style game, but its visual aesthetic is very much on par with something from the 90s. The whole vibe of it feels like Earthbound or something else you might find on the Super Nintendo. It works brilliantly. It's a very fun interpretation of Stranger Things. It puts an interesting spin on that universe. And I went into it expecting it to be, a very brief, light experience, but it took me over 5 hours to get through the whole thing, and there's still actually stuff for me to do, and I think there's stuff that will unlock once Season 2 starts. So I think I'm only at 62% because there's a lot of little hidden things, but I've gone through the main game and, defeated the final boss and all that, which proved fairly challenging. You start off as Hopper and you find various characters that are all drawn from the show itself. There's all the kids are there as you go along, and each one has an ability that kind of represents their personality. You got one kid throwing pudding, another with a flashlight and hop on a bike, another little guy can climb through the pipes and get to various locations that way. They do a great job of sort of building on these characters' abilities. As you're going through the dungeons or even in the overworld, you'll see little areas that you can't get to until after you've found these characters, particularly with the pipes, or even there's logs and that kind of thing that you have to smash with a baseball bat. The interface is extremely well done, considering it's, just a smartphone game. Point where you want to go, and your character goes to wherever you touch the screen. If you want to attack an enemy, you just tap that enemy, your character runs over there and socks them. But it worked, for the most part, very well. It was... occasionally when there's a bunch of enemies, I got overwhelmed because you're desperately trying to tap, and I got pummeled to death. It's broken up in the traditional video game style, 6 dungeons. At the end of the dungeon, you find an Eggo. Any fan of the show will know what that Eggo represents, and there is a payoff for that if you find them all. If you're a fan of the show, again, you'll probably guess what that payoff is. A little over 5 hours to get through it, and it was an enjoyable 5 hours. I was overall quite taken with this game. It's addictive. It's fun. It's got a bright vibe, a great aesthetic. The control, particularly for a smartphone game, is right on point. Overall, it's a free game, and it's an exceptional example of a free game. Obviously, it's got Netflix money behind it, so they're trying to push one of their flagship shows. It's a brilliant way to promote the show. Not that I wasn't going to watch it anyway, but now I'm kind of more excited about it because it's just got that franchise on my brain now, and I'm seeing it from a different perspective, this lighthearted take. If you're a fan of the show, I strongly recommend checking out this game. It's free, so there's really no consequences for giving it a shot, other than the time you have to invest, but I think it'll be time well spent. I'm Ryan Cave, and this is Cognizant Gamer.